We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity for Parents. And today we could go a little bit all over the place. We could cover a lot of material on a lot of different areas. Um, and so we're going to dive right in and just see where it goes. I believe that it's going to be covering the young children, I believe. And so it's going to be probably in the parenting of young children. So that's probably where this is going to go. We'll kind of see where it goes from there. Melissa, you had some questions.
Um, well, I don't remember how I phrased it, but my daughters have been in the consistency of asking if they're loved after I discipline them or do something when it comes to being firm with them. And they constantly ask afterwards, even though I tell them, I'll love you no matter what. They say, "Mom, do you still love me?" And I'm wondering if I'm just failing as a parent to not make them feel loved, or how do I be firm with them without them feeling like they're terrible kids?
Are you sure you just don't want them to ask any questions?
I don't mind when they ask questions. I mean,
Oh,
I asked them a question when they said, "Mom, um, you shouldn't spank us." And I was like, "Why?" She goes, "Because I want you to be a good mom." And I'm like, "Well, what if good moms spank kids?" And she goes, "No, no, I don't think so." This is my 4-year-old. She goes, "No, if you're a good mom, then we don't spank." I was like, "Well, if you make good choices, then you don't get spankings." And she goes, "Oh, okay, I'll just be a good kid." Coincidentally, she hasn't gotten a spanking since then, but I'm still trying to learn how to make them feel like they need to make good choices, but also um, in a way where they don't feel like they failed at life because they made a bad choice.
yeah. Do you know how much they manipulate you?
100% all the time. Yeah, I get that.
Why do you
They're
allow
very
that?
good. I I don't know how to. I don't know how to not.
Okay. So, so do they understand the concept of good choices, good consequences, bad choices, bad consequences?
Micaiah, somewhat. Elena, not so much.
So I would go ahead and just, you know, children can learn that. Our children learned that before they could say consequence. They understood the concept. And so for moms, a couple things. And when I'm talking about moms, dads, I think that you need to go ahead and be the heavy hand. Like you're, especially if your wife is staying home with the kids all day, um, to make sure that the kids, it's just like in business. The people who are leaders, you support them, you don't undermine them. The kids, if the kids feel that mom is being unfair to them, disciplining unfairly, being unfair, any of that, then I think the kids should have a line of authority where they can go to the dad and it's okay. And then the dad has to make a determination. He can't just always support his wife. If his wife is wrong, they need to have a plan to talk about that. Like, honey, I think the kids might be right. Not in front of the kids, but I think there needs to be a conversation. I think that sometimes moms, they're not going to be perfect. And if a dad supports a mom when she's wrong in front of the kids, both the mom and the dad will lose credibility. The I think that the what's the word I'm looking for? Like if there's a question, it goes to the benefit of the doubt goes to the mom. Like she's an adult, kids are kids. And so I think discerning why somebody's asking you that question is really important. So are they asking that question because, and these are they're sneaky little buggers. They're already 3 and 4. They know they've mapped you, your husband, they've mapped your grandma and grandpa on both sides. They know who they can get away with stuff and who they can't, how to manipulate, move things. Like they learn that really fast. And so is it because they don't know. Like in their own minds, in their little 3 or 4 year old mind, they think mom and dad are telling me I can't hit my sister. Well, my mom or dad are spanking me physically. And so, well, how come mom and dad get to physically spank me? And, they tell me it's wrong. So how come it's not wrong for my parents? So is it that they don't understand? So that's knowledge. Is it that they're manipulating you? So they're just smart little buggers. They're just getting out of, getting a discipline. Another thing that we would do with our kids is, I would go ahead and give them, that help them to understand self-discipline. So most people, if you ask adults what's self-discipline, adults will say typically not doing something. No, that's discipline. Self-discipline is when you invoke pain on yourself for a poor choice. Could be doing something we shouldn't or not doing something we should. That's self-discipline. And so the kids, I would say, if you make this choice, take the time. Did you, make sure they're clear. Did you understand you shouldn't go ahead and hit your sister? Yes. Okay. So that's a good choice or bad choice. That would be a bad choice. So now comes a bad consequence. So, you can discipline yourself or mom can discipline you. So let's try your discipline and see what you would do. The whole purpose of discipline is what? Whole purpose. Everything in discipline is what? Anybody? Really?
Sorry, what was that?
Do your
It's
kids
change
have
of
any
behavior.
challenges with attentiveness?
I
So-
have children.
Really,
Change of behavior.
So it's to change behavior. The whole purpose of discipline is to change behavior. That's the whole purpose. The whole purpose is to change behavior. That's everything. So that if it's not changing their behavior, so we'd have some kids that say, I never eat for the rest of my life. That's a little harsh. I don't know. You're going to be able to do that. Some would go, I can't go ahead and, play for 2 minutes. Okay, that's not enough. So the discipline's got to be painful enough. So if you can teach them and you can, if it's crazy hard, then you don't let them do it. If it's crazy easy, that's not going to work either. So you walk them through that type of thinking. And so I think you jump to a conclusion that they're insecure. And maybe that's true, or maybe that's not. Questions on that?
How do I know when they're insecure or building insecurity?
How do you know if what's
How do I know if they're insecure or if they're building up insecurity by the things that they do or don't do? Like
Well-
eventually when kids get to a certain age, they are insecure. So how do I know that's going to happen, it's inevitable, but how do I build the confidence in them for they have less issues with it?
Well, I mean, do they want to be insecure?
I'm assuming not, but
There's a lot of benefits to being insecure. So I think that a lot of times we're not going to hit the tree. 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 We hit the tree. So where do we gain our confidence from? Our self-confidence, where do we gain that from?
Usually by doing something and then the results, based on the results, changing that behavior.
Okay. Other ideas? Or doing what?
Making good choices.
Okay, that can build some level of confidence, making good choices. But what really develops self-confidence?
When somebody says they're proud of you.
That's surface, superficial, artificial, and that's setting them up for disaster. I know it's heresy, to talk with women, but I'm just saying that's, man, because then they become needy, and then they expect to be praised for everything, and that's insecure. So praising them a lot will go ahead and typically build insecure children. Is my opinion. My parents, they did not go ahead and praise us much at all, my mom or my dad. So what builds really strong self-confidence?
Great question. What do you think?
So a lot of times people think it's being good at something. That builds some level of confidence, but not deep. Where you build your deepest confidence is doing something that you're not good at, that you fail at, and you don't quit, and you keep going and keep going. So for me, it's being a speaker, a public speaker. It's writing books. And so it's getting them to where if all they do is what they enjoy doing, then they're going to have challenges with motivation. What's the benefit of not being motivated? It's building self-discipline. It's building self-discipline. Discipline, it's a discipline muscle. If I'm not motivated, then I can build my self-discipline muscles. Questions?
So essentially, you're saying it's growth.
Yeah, and growth is not in things that we enjoy doing. So my mom said to me, and my youngest son said the other day, he repeated that, like Grandma Boersma said, you'll be working the rest of your life. You got learn to enjoy it. Now, she didn't explain that. I was thinking it's working for a job. And I think she might have been. But I think what she meant is it's hard being a husband. It's still hard after 40 years. It's hard being a dad, even after 36 years and 7 kids. I'm guessing it's hard being a mom. I'm guessing it's hard being a wife. I'm guessing there's a lot of hard things. And so if your kids it's like the butterfly when it's breaking free of the cocoon. If your kids are protected, overprotected, let them fail, let them fall, help them to go ahead and see that, when I was playing pickleball, Patrick came by and I asked something and I said, yeah, it's pretty tough. And he says, well, that's not good. I said, oh no, that's really good for me. He's like, you're just weird. Like, so the bigger your life vision is, the more impact you want to make in the world, the more adversity you're going to face. The question isn't if your kids are going to face adversity. The question is how much, how frequently. And if you give in to your children, like when we had the the celebration dinner for the 30, for everybody that did the 30. What went on there with Kenny and Elena?
A battle of the wills.
And who won?
Elena.
Elena.
It seems like she did. But did you guys watch her afterwards?
She had respect for him.
She did. She had respect for him. She tried in her little 3-year-old self to make up with him. She tried to go ahead. I mean, it was just classic because she felt bad. And so should have he did what he did? I don't know. I mean, I'm like, yeah, that's going to be an interesting battle. Not even Grandpa tried that battle. Is that because Grandpa's lazy? I'm willing to have that conversation. Or Grandpa, it's not my child. So, I mean, she's my grandchild. And so my daughter. So I've seen a number of my grandchildren and it's like, really? Where they have to have their mom get them out of the car seat, not dad, not grandpa, not grandma, or have their mom give them food. They're like, really? Like, and so you got to choose your battles. But if you don't choose your battles, your kids are going to go ahead and they're going to struggle a lot. So the more you can help them to struggle in a loving environment, help them to go ahead, and life isn't perfect, you need to learn to obey. And you need to learn to obey without an explanation. This is one of the things that my wife and I have a very, very big difference in parenting. She believes that she should explain things to, the children. I'm not saying you never should. There's a time and a place, but young children, because they can out argue you. They have a lot more stamina and they have amazing logic that's like, And so do what I tell you to do, when I tell you to do it, how I tell you to do it, do it with a great attitude. Get them, I forget what it was, one of the moms that had, like 6 generations, amazing mom. I forget, there's a book out there on her and what her secrets to being a mom was. And she said the first thing that she did as a mom was to conquer the will, to discipline. It's like a horse. It's not to break the will. It's to go ahead and discipline the will to where that child is able to submit. That child is able to control themselves. Because if they can't in this world, that child is able to have delayed gratification. Mary, anything you'd like to accomplish today?
Kind of stepped on my toes.
I did?
Yeah, you did.
Wow, that's really unusual. I'm surprised by that. My wife and daughters, they would like, wow. So would you like to talk about that?
Well, I got manipulated this morning. Ouch.
And we're not doing there. I don't know if it's the social media. I don't know if I'm just because I'm a grandfather. They seem a lot sharper now than when my kids were little. I mean, they're all sneaky. Kids are just sneaky. They just are. But now they seem to go ahead and be sneakier. But maybe I'm just more aware of it. I'm not sure. And so this is not healthy. This is not healthy when they go ahead. Did you have other questions or thoughts on that? On me stepping on your toes?
Oh, it's fine. My toes will heal.
Yeah. So obviously I don't know any of the specific situations, and so maybe they needed to be stepped on, or maybe I wasn't clear in my communication in what I was saying. My mom.
No, you were.
Go ahead.
You were clear. I need to step up and maybe take my role more seriously as a mom.
Cheryl's sister said, lazy moms do all the work. Ouch.
Yeah, I've heard that one before. Ouch.
Yeah. And so, the dad needs to be, I think, a big part of that, and being able to go ahead and, I can play a role too. Like if you ladies go ahead and, and give me feed to, Elaine or Mary Jo, what your challenges are, and I can create videos. We call them Grandpa's Magic Couch videos, where we can create videos and you can have them watch it. Like, say, if you make a poor choice, you get to watch, Mr. Boersma, Grandpa Boersma, whatever you want to call me. You get to watch his videos. That'll be painful for him. But I'll try to go ahead and explain the science behind what they're doing. So how do you disagree with your mom? Like my grandkids, I won't go ahead and do something against my, like my grandkids. If you want something from, like, when they're crying angry, man, what do you want? Because grandpa wants to give you what you want, but I need to know what you want. And Lily, when she was probably 6, she said, I want my mommy to this and this, and she won't let me do that. And I said, okay, well, this is how I think you can get it from your mom, but she might not be able to. So I tried to teach her how to sell her mom on doing stuff by making good choices. Like, here are the good choices that you need to make. And so we could make short videos like The Secret About Time. And so I am absolutely stunned. I mean, just in awe of Ginger Ann and Melissa on how Ginger Ann got her 2 7-year-old daughters to go through 30-day challenge of The Secret About Time. They're not for kids. And then Melissa, her 3 and 4-year-old. And, Melissa, if you want to send those Manage Up and Out, if you have those, over to Mary, those things are just precious. I mean, those things, like, a 3-year-old is like, Mommy, I don't want to watch. Like, Grandpa, I'm tired. Like, I don't know what he said. And so they left an impression. And so we can create videos just specifically for kids. Elaine, anything you would like to accomplish?
How to be able to convey to children, if they want to go do something and somebody is required to take their place to take care of their animals, how it is respectful to make sure that they have everything in order for that person, so that there's no adversities or no challenges that that person has to face.
And so, so what you're looking at here is teaching your children how to see into the future. So you're looking, say, they have to learn how to see in the future. And so a lot of that comes from questions. So it's coming from questions. It's coming from saying, okay, you want to go somewhere to your friends. And you might come up with a series of questions, like a system for chores, handing chores off. Essentially, you're teaching them how to clone themselves, right? Be little business people. And so they're not going to probably want to do it. Mom, they roll their eyes. I mean, it's up to you. You want to go to your friends, you need to hand off your chores. You need to clone yourself. And so you might say, so who's going to do the work? So you could create like a system. Who's going to do the work? And then you go ahead and say, when's the best time to do the work? What's the description of the work? So you can create a system. It could be on a 5x7 card or an 8.5x11 that you create something. So essentially you're trying to help them to say, what's the future? What could go wrong? How to anticipate things. So you're teaching them to think like a driver naturally will think. So driver personality will often naturally see this without. The other 3 personalities, they tend to struggle with it more. Does that
Okay.
help?
Some, yes.
And I mean, that would be like, you all could go ahead and compare notes. And you guys could build a system in a Google Doc, and you could have all of those things. You could have all kinds of tools that's developed. And I tend to go ahead, and those things come naturally for me. So then we could all contribute to that and all use those types of things. And if it's a community, and so, if Elaine comes up with something, Ginger Ann's kids are probably more likely to use it than if Ginger Ann does. If Ginger Ann comes up with something, Mary's kids might be more likely to use it than if Mary does. So you start to go ahead and compare notes and share best practices. Ginger Ann, anything you got? Rosanna, anything you got?
Sound good. I think you hit it on the spot. I lost a lot of good years when they were little by spoiling them, I think.
When I think I was sharing, I think it was earlier with Mary, maybe a couple other people too. I said, Rosanna felt guilt, like women, I think it's proven. I mean, there's scientific, women tend to have more guilt than men do. They just do. This is not all bad, and it's definitely not all good. So there's good guilt and bad guilt. And so Melissa, when she was, I don't know, 14, 15, something like that, and she said she wanted to go to a friend, but it was on the same day that, date night with dad. And she asked if she could skip out of it. And, that's created trauma for me the rest of my life. Like, I didn't know it, that I could use that as leverage and create guilt and shame and all kinds of stuff. So we walked her through the good guilt and bad guilt. Good guilt is guilt we should have that changes our behavior. Bad guilt is feeling guilty about something we shouldn't. So she and I talked through the good and bad guilt. Hopefully that helped her some in life. Rosanna, she felt guilty because she wasn't spending enough time with the kids. Well, she homeschooled the kids. She was home as a stay-at-home mom. She couldn't spend more time with the kids. I mean, it's physically impossible. That's bad guilt. So I don't think she should feel guilt. And I told her at that time, I said, honey, you can't spend more time. You're feeling guilt you shouldn't feel. Now, I think what she should have done is she should have felt guilty about not being harder on the kids, not driving the kids, giving in to the kids. I think she should have felt guilty about that. But evidently, obviously, her husband wasn't good enough to help her to see that. Like, I knew it wasn't healthy what she was doing, we were doing as a family, but I did not realize how, I'm like, this is not good. This is not healthy. This is not going to be good. But I would say now it's a disaster. I mean, the amount of damage that the kids have had, and they need to own their own stuff. Their mom was home with them, great mom, but, the passivity, I mean, it'll absolutely. And so again, I always tend to be the bad cop. She was the good cop. Some of that's okay. Some of it's not. If you're a woman and you have to be the bad cop and your husband won't step up, we need to figure out how to make that happen. It's very important for him, because if he doesn't step up and he's not strong with the kids, they're not going to respect him when they get older. And he's going to be bitter and angry. And he has no one to blame but himself, honestly. Just saying. So you as a dad are not there to be your kid's best friend. You as a dad are there to help develop your children, and it is a hard, hard job. And so, ladies, if if your husband's more amiable or analytic and you're more driver expressive, you're going to be more naturally, and he's going to let you do that work, and you're going to do that work. You're going to burn yourself out, though. And then you'll get bitter and angry towards him. And that's not good either. So if you have any questions on anything we covered today, feel free to connect with the individual who invited you to participate in today's session, or you can call toll-free 888-230-2300. Outside the U.S., 630-393-9909. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.